You are listening to the podcast To Be Single or Not to Be by Shanna Montana, a podcast where we talk about the single life, dating, and relationships so you can make a decision at the end of each episode to be single or not to be. All right, so today's topic is potential and what are we really supposed to do with it? For this one, I'm really just going to keep it cute and get right to it because I've been itching to talk about this topic for a while for a lot of reasons. Reasons I'm going to share in just a minute. But today, instead of having guests, I have a co-host that is going to help me add to the conversation. And co-host, introduce yourself, girl.
Hey, y'all. It's Cass. I'm back.
Yes, y'all have heard her voice before, and her opinion is always valued and appreciated. So we are going to get started right away with today's topic. So, tell me, Cass, what is your definition of potential when it comes to potential in a partner?
So, I'll save what I think and feel about potential for a little bit later, but like just to qualify it, I think it's like raw material. Like you have something there that if given the right circumstances, opportunity, resource could turn into something that can be really valuable or, profitable for you. So it's like if you're trying to make a cake, like you can have eggs and sugar and flour and butter and all those other things. You need the oven to make the cake.
Right.
Like you need to mix it to make the cake. So potential is those raw materials.
I like that, with raw materials. Because I look at potential like raw meat. I don't like to eat raw meat. So
we got to do something with that.
Right. So not going to be a fan of it. And I think that, I feel like if someone has potential, it means that there's something that can possibly be developed, but there is no guarantee that that too shall come to pass.
Right.
And, some people may say we all lean on potential to some extent when it comes to partners. And I think that's true because you roll the dice when you date anybody anyway. I don't care if they are a bum on the street or the president of the U.S. Well, let's take another example. A bum on the street.
So two different bums.
Yeah, two different bums. Yeah, right. Or if they are
the 44th president.
Exactly. You roll the dice. Michelle even had to roll the dice on that one. However, I think when it comes to the basics of what I need, and if you don't have the majority of them, we just can't be in a position where we're always talking about what's gonna happen, quote unquote. And the partnership just might end up not being the right fit if that's what we are leaning on. So I think those go hand in hand with the raw materials because it's kind of like it needs like diamonds that need to be cut and formed and shaped and all that stuff. And it's really all about, do you want to put the work in for that diamond in the rough? So do you think that potential should really hold some sort of value? Because I'm really kind of on the fence about that. I'm in a space, I think that, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the conversation would have been different. But right now, I'm not really sure if I should allow potential to really hold some value in the space I'm in. So what do you think about that?
So for what I think potential can kind of be conceptualized as, I say no.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So I feel like potential is something that other people identify in you. So I've never said that I have potential. Like either I can do something or I need to figure out how to do something.
Right.
But we typically don't say I have the potential for X, Y, Z. Other people identify potential in us.
Because they're hopeful.
Hopeful, yes. Yeah. So you may see a young man or a young woman and think, oh, this person can be successful or this person can be a great partner because of what you see, those raw materials that you hope can manifest into, a perfectly cut diamond or
something
a really
that's fruitful.
Delicious cake.
Right.
Something that can be turned into something else. But what I have found is that potential in the absence of any sort of work or effort is just potential. Like it's just there. It's those eggs sitting on the counter. It's the diamond that has a potential to be really valuable, but in its raw form doesn't really carry a lot of weight. I don't really give too much anymore to what I see that nobody's doing anything with.
Right.
Because if you have potential but you have no drive, then you don't really have potential.
Right.
You have some gifts that you're not utilizing appropriately. You're not being a good steward. And that's me, speaking church because that's where I was raised up. But if you're not being a good steward of that, then there's nothing that's really going to come out of it. So potential for me doesn't carry a whole lot of weight on its own. Like if you got some other stuff going on, like you have the potential to be a great educator, but you're not going back to school to get your teaching degree,
then the value's going from it. And I think that is a great way to look at it, because if you have potential standing alone, you can do nothing with it. The value is gone. That's my stance, like yours. If you have the potential and you have something on top of it, and a couple of things we're going to talk about, then we possibly can do something with it. So tell me this. When we think about potential and its legitimacy, you have to determine a couple of things if you are going to play that game and say, I believe in potential, I think it's worth the risk, I'm willing to risk it all. I think if you're gonna play that game, and in the sense of the podcast, we have to give the listeners something to hold on to before we kill the dreams, because I'm gonna still get back to why I do not mess with potential. So I want to say the first thing. Tell me this. I think with potential, a person has to have a level of intelligence. I think that we know there's some smart people in the world. We know it's some not so smart people in the world. And I think through conversation, through action, through being around a person, you can kind of tell, is this brother or is this sister smart, or, are they just out here making dumb decisions? Because I think that's the first thing. You have to have a level of intelligence in order to pursue what you just said, going into whatever it is that you are passionate about. So if you want to be an educator, do you have the intelligence to go to school to get that degree to teach? Do you have your high school diploma or the GED, whatever it may be? Do you have the ability to go to school and take those courses and those classes, things of that nature? What do you think about that? How important is intelligence in that realm?
So I'm hesitant about intelligence just because you can have potential for a lot of different things, right?
Right.
And so I do think you have to have some knowledge, and I think you have to have some insight, and somebody might call that intelligence.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by knowledge and insight, because my intelligence doesn't mean you're book smart. We know a lot of people walking around with a lot of book sense and no common sense and other things.
All the degrees.
We run into that a lot, but I think that you have to be able to put those things you just said together, having knowledge and the know-how and the ability to put together that plan. It's going to require, to me, intelligence. That's important to me.
Yeah. And so, I think about, Ryan Coogler.
Okay. Who is that for the listeners that may not know?
So, Ryan Coogler is a phenomenal, I want to say director, or is it producer? Either way.
Somebody in the industry.
Somebody in the film industry, right? Definitely a screenwriter. So, Creed, the first one for sure, Black Panther, Fruitvale Station. All of those are in the Ryan Coogler catalog. Okay. So Ryan Coogler used to write scripts on his computer using Microsoft Word. I have never written a script, but apparently it is very challenging to write a script in that way because of the things that you have to do with script writing. So his wife, now I think she may have been a girlfriend at the time, saw that he had some skills and had some ingenuity to try and figure out how to make something happen with what he had, and invested in getting him script writing software.
So look, but that means that if he was trying to become Ryan back when he had the girlfriend, that leads me to another point. Those big plans that they have, because I'm sure he had a lot of conversations about wanting to write scripts, wanting to be a director, wanting to be in the industry. What action items are you seeing in place? Are they working on these things they're talking about? That brother was sitting there working on scripts on Microsoft Word, and that sister saw something and said, let me get him the tools and resources that he needs in order to move forward. Now, mind you, I don't even know if I would have done that, but shout out to her. But I think that's another part of it. If you're going to count on the potential, and a lot of times potential is attached to some dream or some goal that person has, have they even started working on that goal, and what is their plan to get there? Because if you say that I want to be an astronaut, let's say that to be safe. Okay, have you looked up what it takes to be an astronaut? Do you have the credentials? Have you, taken those steps? So that's the outlandish one, because I didn't want anybody to feel attacked if I named a real life example. Look.
Might be coming down somebody's street.
Right. But I think you have to be able to know, that's the next thing, those plans that they talk about, what actionable items are in place. And then I think another thing is to look at, their track record. What have they shown you since you have been dating them or dealing with them or getting to know them that leads you to believe that they may truly reach that potential? And I think that comes down to, if we think about the little things leading up to the big stuff, are they on time for dates? Do they plan things? Do they communicate? Do they talk to you about what they're passionate about? Again, are you able to see those things come into fruition? What do you think about that as far as like the track record and being related to that potential?
Oh, that's huge, because I think even with the intelligence aspect, if you don't know about something, you can always acquire it.
Right.
And so that, I think the track record and the intelligence probably goes hand in hand, because if you show me that you can take some initiative to figure some things out, then this potential that I see in you, because remember, this is not an internal thing. A lot of times this is external. You have the ability to take what other people may say they see in you and turn that into something that you can really develop.
Right.
But if you have gifts that are visible to the entire world and you're not doing anything with them, and your track record shows that you kind of want something that's easy and you don't really want to put a whole lot of effort in, if that shows up in your dating life, it's probably also going to show up in your professional life or your occupation or whatever else. And so to me, I know we're not ranking them, but that is probably top of the list. I mean, we haven't talked about other things, but that for me is top of the list, because if you have a track record of, I'm going to grind, I'm going to go after it and get what I need to get done, then if you don't know something, but we can figure out how you can learn what to do.
Right. I agree. And I think that as women who are out here that are, I would say, single women, because I would think that we are the ones that are having to look at our potential prospects and what that potential looks like, I absolutely think you have to look at that track record and all that comes along with it. But I also think that sometimes as women and men in this podcast, in this episode, we're speaking to both, even though we're speaking from a woman's perspective. I think people sometimes go into these relationships or even marriages trying to change a person and naming it potential. And you have to understand that at the end of the day, we all know that you cannot make a grown person do anything that they don't want to do. You cannot imagine that a person, like you mentioned earlier, is going to be a great partner, a great husband or wife, a great provider, and they have shown you no signs of those things. And also, we have to stop, I would say, holding on to, I'll call it the breadcrumbs, because that word just came up earlier, that when a man or a woman says something that is enticing to us, or they do something that's enticing, like you hang out with them and you see them with their nieces or nephews and they're really good with them. And the next thing you know, you're talking to your friends about, so-and-so would be a great dad. Lo and behold, you have not seen anything else in his track record, in his plans, in what he's exhibited, that he's going to be this great father. He could be a deadbeat. We hope not. But we just have to make sure that we stop holding on to hope and stop being so hopeful when we see breadcrumbs of what we want things to be, just because we are in that single space. And not saying that I would say we're desperate in a sense, or we are chasing after anything, because we've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. I think it's that romanticizing thing we've talked about on other episodes. But I think we just have to be mindful that when we go into these relationships, and especially if we're going to, jump the broom and say, I do, you have to recognize that and evaluate, am I really trying to change this person? Or do they really have the potential that I think they are capable of? And that said, I want to give us an example. And Cass, I want you to respond to this first. Okay. And listeners, I want you guys to, if you want to, fill me in on the DMs on Facebook or Instagram, your thoughts on this scenario, so we can talk about it on the next episode. So here's the example. I found this online and I felt like it was really interesting. So the guy, I'm going to say we're going to speak from our perspective. He is in between jobs, does not have a car, lives with his parents, and is deep in debt. You see that he's intelligent, is ambitious, and talks about his plans to change his situation. The more time you spend with him, the more you like him, inevitably so, and you can see him one day becoming a great husband and father. He has big dreams and talks about them all the time. You believe he has the potential to be great one day, so you buy him books, you help him look for jobs, you lend him your car, you pay for dates, and you even loan him money. This guy maybe hasn't even claimed you as his woman yet, but you see the potential for your relationship. He may have given you a disclaimer that sounds something like, I'm not the marrying type, or I'm not sure I'm in a place where I can really love someone. So instead of accepting what he says at face value, you interpret his words to mean he just needs a little help learning how to be emotionally available. You decide to show him how to love by being selfless, forgiving, and patient with him. He happily accepts, as he always do, he happily accepts everything you give him because he believes he's covered his bases by sharing his honest thoughts about relationships and marriage. Should you stick it out with him because of his potential, or should you move on?
Okay, so I'm going to start this the way my mama used to start it back in the day when I was about to get into something I ain't had no business. So here's the thing. I've been there.
Chile.
When I was younger, I definitely I wrote a college essay for one boy.
I know people have gotten degrees for me and they've done all the work.
Oh, honey, no, I had to work on my own degree at the illustrious Clark-Atlanta University.
You know what?
Anyway, I wrote a college admissions essay for a boy.
Did he get in?
He got in and then didn't go.
Oh,
because he had no investment in it, right?
Okay.
I also did his FAFSA. I still remember his social security number because of that.
If you was a scammer,
if I was Joanne, honey, I could ruin your life, and you know who you are.
Right.
Don't let yourself get this far gone. I feel like as younger women, something about, especially women in the South, something about wanting to be partnered the way it is ingrained in us.
Yes.
There's a lot we're willing to invest when we shouldn't.
Right.
Because if somebody were to come up to you with a business proposition and all they had was an idea and they didn't have a plan, they didn't have a location, they didn't have a budget, they didn't have personnel, they didn't have marketing, they didn't have anything but an idea, and they say, give me $50,000 for my idea, you gonna look at them like they done lost their ever-loving mind.
Absolutely.
But we do that in relationships because we let our emotions get all tangled up and stuff.
Yeah.
So if this is you, if you meet, let's call him Roscoe. And Roscoe is living with Miss Erlene and her husband.
Pearly.
Miss Pearly. Mama Pearly. Living in the basement, no car, no job, but has an idea of how he wants to get out of this situation. I am not going to tell you who you should not date. Mm-hmm. What I will tell you is that she, her, me is not dating a man who is in a place where he needs to really be focusing on developing himself and getting himself into a better place.
Absolutely.
Because one, I will become frustrated by the fact that what I want in a relationship, I'm not able to receive from you right now, because you have to focus so much of your effort on getting yourself out of a situation that you say you don't want to be in, that you say you don't want to be in. I'd be interested to know how much time the sister in the scenario has spent
good question,
handing over her car keys, getting dropped off at work while he go lay up in his mama's basement and play 2K.
Oh, just waiting. This is just it's a whole scenario of you just
ain't
waiting.
Even brushed his teeth yet.
Look, just waiting. You just waiting and just hoping and wishing. My answer to this: should you stick it out with him because of his potential, or move on? Move on, sis. What are we doing? I cannot say. Look, ask me how I know how this scenario go. Luckily, I don't think I've been this far gone. But if this is being far gone, I'm sure I've been about 65-70% there, dealing with somebody that I knew did not have the capacity nor the bandwidth to handle me or give me what I want and needed. But I was so hopeful and just waiting and hoping and wishing. And the analogy you gave in regards to the business plan was excellent, because it's so true that in our professional or just common sense land, that if somebody came to us with an idea about something that they wanted us to involve ourselves in, if it didn't make sense to us, we would immediately say no. But when it comes to relationships, all of our proper judgment, because love is a drug, all of our proper judgment just goes out of the window. So I would say if you weren't listening to this and your answer was anything other than no, listen to this episode again. Go back to the beginning. Listen to what we talked about and continue to listen, because it's not sound advice for anybody to say that this is acceptable. It's not okay.
And if you think about it, because we all know or have been the person in this scenario who was doing all the giving and the hoping.
Yes.
I know so many of those situations where when that individual did get it together, if they ever did, they moved on to the next thing. They didn't carry you
real quick.
They didn't appreciate what you invested and was like, okay, I'm gonna take care of you. They moved on to the next thing.
Like it's like what Vivica Fox on Two Can Play That Game with Bobby Brown. Was she the one who got Bobby Brown together, or was it Raquel Wendy?
That was Wendy Raquel Robinson.
Yeah. You get them together and then he gone.
Look, so most of the time they don't stick around, and if they do, the other part of that, they aren't getting it together, but they might marry you because that's what you say you want, but then you end up married and frustrated because you have a child that you've been taking care of
by yourself.
So now you got a dependent that you can't even claim on your taxes, sis. Ain't even no tax credit for this man. You just paying all the bills, maybe getting some good D, probably getting some lazy D.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot when you could go to probably one of these stores and buy you something that'll give you a little bit more satisfaction.
That'll sustain you the same way.
And cost a lot less money.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Agreed. And I think that what happens in situations like this sometimes is, and mind you, she didn't say exactly what those big dreams were that he talked about, but I think sometimes people do mistake ambition for potential. Why do you think people do that? Why do we mistake ambition for potential? Because I think that only the person that is within can really do anything with that. Only you can do something with that ambition. Only you can do something with that potential. It's not something I can touch, feel, see, or hear. So why do you think we do that?
And so I feel like potential is intangible.
Okay.
And ambition is tangible. So for me, like, he real smart. He could probably be a teacher. Okay, that's potential.
Mm-hmm.
Ambition is, he's real smart. He can be a teacher, and he's going to school.
Right.
So, or he is, he's real good with people. Maybe he could be in sales.
Yeah.
And then he's going to workshops and learning and networking and doing those things. That's ambition. Like,
yeah.
I see your ambition in the things that you do. I
love that.
I think you need both, because you can be a driven person with no talent. So if I wanna be a movie star. I want to act. Look, I'm going to the classes. I'm doing the improv. I'm studying the greats. I'm doing all the things, and you still can't act. You got all this ambition and no potential. And then I don't know which is worse. I think the potential with no ambition is probably worse, because it's probably there and you're not doing anything with it. I feel so bad for the person that's working so hard towards a dream that probably won't manifest because you don't have the skills to make it happen.
But that ambition is pushing them. But
that you could do something with, because maybe we can maneuver you, bruh,
to another direction.
And you just fuel all that ambition into something that you could potentially turn into something great.
Yeah.
But if you have both. So I think about Kev on Stage. Everybody know Kev on Stage.
Yeah, Instagram. He's an Instagram. Yeah. Yes. If y'all haven't followed him, hit the follow button.
He was telling us about how he used to work retail and do all these odd jobs to pay bills, and had talent. He's super funny.
Yeah.
So he's got the chops to make it as a Christian comedian, but also the ambition to go after what he wants, while also making sure that home was taken care of, because this is a married man with 2 very young children.
Right.
And me and 3 of my girlfriends had a conversation about this the other day, about whether or not they'd be open to dating creatives. And so I
say that, girl. Okay, I'm say that.
So I would be open to dating a creative.
It's so tricky.
It is very tricky, but it would have to be a certain kind of creative.
So expand more upon that. What kind of creative?
So, you could be in any genre. It could be music. It could be comedy. It could be acting.
Okay.
But I need you to have the ambition to, if you decide I want to invest my time into this dream that I think could become a reality, I also need to see you doing what it takes to make sure home is taken care of.
Right.
Because if we have bills, your dreams are not paying the bills.
Not at all.
And
that's what scares me, is the instability of a creative. What makes you comfortable with willing to roll the dice in that area? That instability of how creative, unless you're already established in Hollywood. But if we think about, just say Nashville and people that are trying to make it here, because people do come here to pursue things of that nature. And we have a creative community, who I commend. But what makes you comfortable with that? Because that instability of not knowing when they're going to get a check or another gig is what scares me away from those types of people.
It would scare me away if you're not trying to do anything else to make sure you're taken care of.
Okay.
Because I am 31 years old. She's a grown woman, as one of my favorite folks likes to say.
Right.
We got bills and responsibilities, especially if we end up like in a marriage. I do not want to carry the financial responsibilities of this household by myself.
Right.
So that you could potentially chase windmills that never turn into anything, Don Quixote.
Yeah.
So, but if you tell me, babe, I really feel like I can do this, you know, I'm keeping my regular job, and then on, you know, weekends or evenings, I'm going to be out here, you know, making connections, doing what I got to do to try to see if I can get myself to the next level.
Okay. And when you say paying bills, like doing what they have to do you mean like getting a part-time job, driving Lyft, Uber, whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not in a way that it like compromises the relationship, because we can't say we're together and you're so focused on the dream that we don't have time as a couple.
Right, because you're so busy when you're not out trying to do gigs, you're out trying to make this money, and then there's no work-life balance kind of deal. Okay.
But if you're willing to, and I think part of it is because I have a creative bend. I'm not a creative, but you know, I do write. I used to sing. So I understand like the draw and the passion and even the exhilaration that comes from doing something that you love in that way.
Right.
So I get that, and maybe that's why I'd be more willing to do it. But at the same time, I am a Capricorn, so we all about the finances. If you read any of these horoscopes,
yeah, they do like nice things.
We do like nice things. I like security and stability.
Yes.
I don't need to think that the sheriff is gonna come knocking on my door because we haven't paid the mortgage this month.
Right, and
also,
I'm an earth sign, so I get it. I'm very grounded.
Got to be grounded. But if you got talent and you like, hey babe, I got a show, I want you to come, I'm gonna be there supporting you, because there are some individuals who it does take off for them. Yeah. That nobody ever thought it would. Like when Kevin Sage first got on Instagram, wasn't nobody paying attention to him.
Right.
Now this man has millions of followers. He has tours. He's doing all of these things. And it might not happen if I end up dating a man who is a creative for him. But I'd be willing to support that because it's something that you really want to do and it makes you happy. As long as we taking care of what we got to taking
care of home. And I think the perspective you give of making sure that they understand the balance and they know what they have to do to provide for us and be physically present in the relationship. Because when I think of creatives, I think of people, and this is just in my mind because I haven't really had an experience with a creative. I think of somebody who, you know, is trying to say become a comedian, and you're going to your gigs and stuff, but when you're not going to your gigs, you're at the house, and we go maybe a month or so and you haven't brought home a paycheck, and now you're looking at me. But I know in reality, especially in 2019, there's so many ways for people to make money that it's really no reason not to, even if that's working out. But I think that I just have to have an open mind when it comes to relationships and things of that nature, because I'm so used to corporate America, 9 to 5. You know, people may say I'm a creative in the sense of just doing this podcast, but I do it after work. So my thing is like, my preference, and that's going to be an upcoming episode, my preference is that you have like a typical 9 to 5, or your 9 to 5 is that you play in a major athletic league, and that's a different kind of 9 to 5. And then when you get off of work, that you pursue those creative passions. But it doesn't always look that way, and it's okay, because I do like the perspective that you gave. So how do you think?
Yeah,
go ahead.
So I won't be with a man who is unemployed. A creative is a description. It is not an occupation. Okay. Because if you are creative and then that turns into your occupation, then you are a comedian. Then you are a musician. Right. Then you are an actor. If you grinding and hustling and doing what you got to do in the meantime, what is your occupation right now? Yeah. Because if that's teacher by day, comedian by night, cool. If it's I stay in the house by day, comedian by night, that's fine. And I may even come to your show as a homie. Not even as a friend, as a homie, looking for a giggle. Right. What I will not be is your girl.
So you have to have that. I agree.
You got to have a job.
You got to have a job. No other way to see it. Now, I tell you, do you think that, you know, especially what we're talking about now, how do we determine the difference between potential on one hand and someone just having a few things that they need to work on that we're willing to work with? How do we determine the difference between the two to not kick that person to the curb that just has a few things that they need to work on?
Again, I think potential is like that external experience. Like,
okay.
Like people can't tell you that they're nice. Like other people experience.
Yeah,
you as
it's like
nice.
saying I'm a good friend. You shouldn't have to say it out loud. People should see it based on your actions.
Exactly that. So there's a difference between someone who has potential to be a great husband, a great father, a great provider, what have you, and there's no manifestations of that, and a person where you all have some things where you differ.
Right.
And so I think everyone has to be flexible on some things in a relationship.
Absolutely. That's the compromise of it all. Yeah. You have to be.
And I think everybody should have some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
I am not the person to tell you what should and should not be your non-negotiables. I just know my non-negotiables.
Right.
And there are some things that I would prefer, but I'm not totally inflexible on.
Right.
And so if there are some things that y'all can maybe work out, then those are typically like tangible types of things. Like, oh, well, he go to Mount Zion and I go to Watson Grove. Like, oh, okay, but your requirement is that he be Christian.
Yeah, and then he goes to church.
Right,
okay, I
so
think we work that
y'all
out.
can figure that out.
Yeah.
I work days, he works nights.
Yeah.
Like,
when we have an opportunity possibly to switch our shifts or off days, something like that.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think the smaller things, maybe he, I'm thinking because I know when I think about finances and other things like that, I'm trying to choose my words wisely. Because I had this conversation with somebody the other day and we were talking about finances and how important is money. Because it is. And a lot of women I don't want to say a lot because I don't know if I know it's a lot of people in the world. People will say, well, oh, he needs to make X amount of money. And I was saying that I hope that my partner makes at least as much money as I do. But if he doesn't, that he's within like a $5,000 range, So what do you think about that? What do you think about that aspect of the money? But I think that's like that opportunity window. If I make this amount, I'm far off, but I can work with that.
I think that's a totally fine desire to have.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to necessarily be like the breadwinner, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
Because if you are making $150,000. I don't know how much money you make, but let's go with that. That sounds good.
Sounds
nice
good.
Sounds good. And Buddy is making $125,000. Well, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, I make $25,000 more than him, but we together are close to $300K coming into this house.
Right. So I think we'll be okay.
However, if you were making $75,000
mm-hmm.
and he's making $50,000, that's a bigger difference in buying power, in access, in all of these other things. And then if you're married, there's a lot of things that are considered on your income.
Yeah.
A lot of us got student loans.
Oh,
so that means once y'all get married, there's some men that will expect you to take their last name and their student loans.
Well, I know whoever wind up with me better be ready to take mine. I'm ready to make somebody else suffer with me.
Come on.
I talk about all these compromises. Whoever I get with, I'm going to have that conversation to slide that piece of paper like, I just want you to see. You really want this?
If your debt is student loan debt, we can work on it.
Yeah, that's true.
We can talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk about
really
that. Yeah,
even if it's a larger number, like that's okay.
We can deal with that. We all got it. We can deal with that. You're right. That's one debt I can deal with.
We can all deal with that. We can all deal with that. You got some payday loans. We might have a different
you got a gambling debt. Yeah, we got something.
It's a different conversation. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I don't necessarily want to be the person primarily financing a household.
Right.
However, I feel like I'm a pretty funny person. I may end up in entertainment one day and be making millions of dollars.
Right.
And that would be a different conversation. But if we're still in Nashville, Tennessee, working our respective jobs in our respective industries, and let's lowball it. Let's say I was making $30,000
mm-hmm.
and my man is making $15,000. First of all,
where does he work? Kroger?
Girl, maybe. Maybe. And so then it's like, what am I supposed to do when I make 2/3 of the income coming into this house?
Leave him where he stands.
And for some women, that's the answer. And for some, it's not. I would encourage some folks to identify what you are willing to accept and why. Because there are some folks who are totally fine with covering the financial and taking care of the home and being primarily responsible for taking care of the children. And then there are some like traditional, and I'm using air quotes, men who feel like even though I bring less money in, I am still the decision maker for this household. And verily, verily, I say unto you, beloved, not for me.
That's a whole nother situation you got to deal with at that point. So that's why you have to look at those things, because if you're going to make those compromises and sacrifices in that way, you have to look at the bigger picture. Are you going to be okay with then having this person lead you? And we've talked about that on other episodes. I want to be in a position where I am okay with you leading me and not having to say shit like, well, you're not paying for nothing in here, you know, so, and then that's a whole nother situation.
A whole other conversation, right?
So I think you have to be able to weigh the pros and cons and look at what is that potential, what's attached to it, and what those opportunities are that they may have. If it's something I can work with, like we talked about, whether it be the finances or the job or the hours that you work, or, you know, who are we going to visit for holidays, you know, things of that nature. You just have to be able to look at both. And I want to say, do we really think it's fair for you to hold out hope for someone's potential when you are already put together? And I think, while no one is perfect, many of us have, I would say in the 30 plus club, ones people that we hang around, you know, you are in a good mental space, you're in a good physical space, you're in a good financial space, you're in a good space career wise, you're in a good space, you know, just overall with everything going on around you. And you meet this guy that has this potential, and guess what? It's attached to that ambition. But he is still light years behind you and where you've gotten to in your life. Do we do anything with that, or do we have to say, I'll pass?
Oh, so that is an individual choice. And that's what I will say. And it would depend on what you mean by light years, right? Light years,
I'm going to give say like us, you know, we work corporate America, how our setup is for people that are listening, they should kind of know who we are by now. You meet somebody, and I always go back to this because it's like from the first episode, you meet somebody that is a cashier at Kroger that lives with his mom. That's like the scenario on here. Cashier at Kroger, lives with his mom, has dreams of being a director, and is talking about it, but that's pretty much all he got going. He's really nice, really sweet. He shows you that he cares. He's you know, he meets your love language. But okay. Outside of that, it's like...
Yeah, no. So, I think back to the movie Think Like a Man, and I know some people have their feelings about Steve Harvey.
It's just an example.
But it's just an example, and I particularly like the movie. And so if y'all remember, Taraji P. Henson and Michael Ealy's character.
But let me tell you something about that. He was so fine.
That's another thing.
That's my problem. Shit.
That's shameful. So I also, sidebar, no shade to my folks with the light eyes. I don't trust no brother with no funny colored eyes. That's what I do. You brown with gray eyes.
Nigga, that's my type.
I got questions.
That's my type.
It's
nigga,
deceptive already. You brown and your eyes is gray. Make it make sense, brother.
Nigga, that's my type. If y'all out there, that's my type.
Look, so you light-eyed fools, come on over here. and talk to
Michael Ealy, where you at?
Where he at? So I will say this: the brother got on his grind, right? Like he came up with a business plan because he was like, I really like this woman. I really don't want to lose her. I want to do something with myself. And started a restaurant. Yeah, you know, that to me is different than I'm working at Kroger. I have dreams of opening a restaurant, but I don't know how to cook. That's a different conversation. And I can't, and to be quite...
I just realized you said I don't know how to cook. Okay.
To be quite honest with you, like just to keep it 99 plus 1.
Yeah.
I don't really think I'm giving the man who works at Kroger the time of day. And,
not at all.
And y'all can say whatever.
Say what you want. But some people approach you and it's like, really?
We're in different spaces. And that's okay. And I'm not saying that you are... not, you know, like less of a person or anything like that, because that's not true at all. We are all the same in the eyes of the Lord. Right. But in the eyes of Cass, there are certain things that I need from a partner at 31. Now, if you tell me, I'm working at Kroger because I'm in school, that's a different conversation.
That is.
That's a different
you
conversation.
You better be in medical school.
Law school. You know, nursing school.
Astronaut school.
Astronaut school. Something. And I'm sure people will, you know, say, whatever they would like to say about me about not being willing to date that young man, verily, verily, I say unto you, you won't say that to my face.
They can say it to mine. I stand on my word.
Look, like the good Lord stands on his, I stand on mine.
I stand on mine.
It's just not something I'm willing to do at this point in my life. And we were talking a little bit about this before we queued up the episode. I have been blessed with just a little bit more than what I need. Mm-hmm. And try to be a good steward. And there are times where I am asked to help out various family members, and when I can, I do, because that's what people did for me when I needed help.
Right.
I can't do that for
my nigga.
You
all the time.
Right. Like, I can't do that for my family, members of my family who are younger than me, who are trying to figure things out, and my man who is trying to figure things out. Right. It's just not something I'm willing to do at this juncture, and I think that's okay. I'm not going to tell anybody what they should or should not do, because love is a risk no matter what.
This is true.
If you decide, like, I'm taking a risk by saying I'd not be willing to date the guy who's a cashier at Kroger, because I'm risking maybe not ever meeting somebody who is a partner the way that I want them to be. That is the risk that I take, and I know that, and I have accepted that. You also take a risk by choosing to date someone who is in a different space than you are.
Absolutely.
And hoping things turn out for the best. And for some folks they do, and for some folks they do not. So it's a risk either way. Absolutely. And this is like a separate kind of related conversation. I don't think any of us regular, degular, schmegula, everyday folks are risk it all fine.
Or what?
Risk it all fine. I would never tell anybody to risk it all on me. On me. And
on me, baby.
And let me tell you something. I think I'm amazing, okay?
Look, I told somebody the day that I was playing, I said, the next relationship I get into, my man got to give me like a 6-month trial period. Because I've been out of a relationship so long that even though I feel like I have all this black girl magic, I'm real rusty. So I might be doing the fuck it up challenge a lot in a relationship. You got to bear with me. You got to bear with me.
You got to bear with people. And I, like, Michael B. Jordan would risk it all. Let me tell you something. Michael Bakari Jordan walks in here right, and I like a man with a little Afrocentricness to him. So let him walk in here right now. I'm going to tell y'all I'm leaving and walk out the door. Episode over. Y'all might not even get this recorded.
That's how it would have been with Michael.
But that is risk it all fine. Successful, millionaire, objectively attractive.
Everybody should have like 5 people on their list that's like risk it all fine. Like
and all of mine is millionaires. Or billionaires. Or billionaires. I'm just gonna put it out there like that.
That makes it a lot easier to make it risk it all fine.
But if we both working in higher ed or corporate America in Nashville, Tennessee, look. If we don't have other people on our payroll, and we aren't paying publicists and managers and accountants, and we both just living in the it city working, I'm not risking it all for you, and I don't think you should risk it all for me, because to me, risking it all is about putting things out there with no evidence that they're worth it. Like, I don't think getting into
evidence that they're worth it.
No evidence. It is not faith. Faith is, the absence of things, well, no. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Y'all ain't gonna act like I don't know my Bible. Okay. But risking it all is not that. Because if you risk it all with no evidence and it's not in a higher power, you just hoping some stuff will translate into something else that it may not. And I don't think us regular folks should be risking it all for each other with no evidence that this is going to be beneficial for you. Right. I don't believe in taking unnecessary risks, even though I do want to go skydiving. If you meet me and you realize that what you want in a woman is someone who is a little bit softer spoken, a little bit more introverted, someone who is just a meeker personality, I am not the woman for you. I have nothing against soft-spoken, introverted, meek women.
Right, I agree.
I am just not that woman. And if you know that's what you want, and you see me, and you're like, well, I'm going to risk it all for her to see if she can become this thing, it's not going to happen.
Don't do it.
So don't risk it all for people that you see are not lining up with the things that you say you want for yourself.
Because what you're doing is you're knocking on that potential door, and you're being real hopeful. It's like standing outside hoping that when they open the door, everything that's on the other side of it is everything you wanted and dreamed, even though you know that is not going to be the case.
And it's a shack.
Yeah, you know exactly what it is.
The door is beautiful. You walk in and you don't walk into a crack house.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not going to be as beautiful as you think. So, do you think, after everything that we've talked about, what is your hard vote? Do we throw potential out of the window? Yay or nay?
Potential in isolation, yes. Got to go.
Potential in isolation. I like that.
Yeah. Potential with nothing else, got to go. Potential with some ambition, potential with some strategy, potential with some, connections.
With some evidence.
Some potential with some evidence we could keep. Potential in isolation, nah.
Nah. And you need to make sure it's hard evidence. Because I will give a little story time. No, I've been guilty of dealing with a person that had the potential to be a said thing in a certain career field. And I saw what I thought was a glimpse of that person going that direction. But when I look back in hindsight, I was a little bit like that woman. I was the one pushing them. I was the one coming up with the ideas. I was the one doing the things. So when my energy stopped, that energy stopped from that person as well. So would you say potential with no, what was it?
Evidence.
Potential with no evidence? No, out the window. That's the hell no. But potential with things that are tangible, with that intelligence, with those plans coming into fruition, with that track record.
With them light eyes like China Light.
Yeah. Ooh, take them out. Take them out. I think we absolutely can do something about that. And we'll be right back with the Montana Minute. We are now introducing a new segment to the podcast. This is called Living Single. We want you guys to send in any of your relationship questions, if you need advice, or if you just want to give feedback on the show on a topic that we've discussed. Feel free to DM them on Instagram to Shanna Montana, or you can inbox me on Facebook, Living Single, and we'll definitely be touching on these topics on each episode going forward. And now this brings us to the resolution segment. Forgive me on the last piece. I said it was going to be the Montana Minute, but we're back with the resolution and we will have the Montana Minute after this. So for the resolution segment, we want to find out, how do we learn to truly look at what the person has on the table right now and move forward with that over chasing the pipe dream that is potential? And I think that what's important for me, and I think for everybody, should be to really evaluate the circumstances of the person you're dealing with right now, meaning everything. We talked about the finances, talked about his mental space, talked about how that person lives, talk about their career, talk about their hobbies, talk about what they do for growth, talk about how they treat their family, their relationships with their family. Look at everything. If you go back to that list that you created, look at everything and say, if this person stays exactly how they are in the position and shape that they're in right now and never change, would I be okay with being with that person? And it may be a bit drastic because they say change is inevitable, but some people don't change a whole lot. And some people stay true to exactly who they are and what they're doing. So I think that we have to be able to evaluate that and say, if I'm okay with staying in this situation and they never change going forward and I'll be cool with that, then okay. You pull the trigger, you stay in that situation with that potential, if it's what you want, and sometimes if it's not what you want, as us women do. But I think that outside of that, we have to be able to say and stand, we have to be able to stand firm and stand true to what it is that we really want and not make the sacrifice and compromise for people that we know we don't really want. I think we get caught up in that potential too when we are wanting companionship, when you get lonely sometimes. When you're just wanting to be with somebody, you're looking on social media, you're seeing the couples, it's about to be the holiday season, everybody's in love. And you're thinking, I want a boo for Christmas, I want a boo for this. And you get caught up in that, and then, the hot girl summer shows up and you're trying to figure out what went wrong 6 months ago. So I think that you have to be able to evaluate where you are right now. You have to be able to understand and know that what it is that you want and know that you are not going to compromise in any parts of that. And I think if you do that, you won't wind up chasing a dream. You'll be able to be patient and wait for the partner that God has created for you and just continue to manifest beautiful things for your life until your partner gets there. And hope that when that person does arrive, that they add value to it and don't take away. What do you think?
So I 100% agree. And I think part of that comes with taking off the rose-colored glasses and realizing that your life is not a fictional fairy tale. It's an autobiography. So it's not these things that just happen. Like, you have to evaluate what is actually there and utilize that to make your decision. And so it's like if you were buying a house and you have to have the house appraised. And you look at the house is beautiful. They have it listed at $199,000. You give them exactly what they want. And then you get the appraisal, and the appraisal says it's only worth $175,000. Mm-hmm. And so do you then decide, well, I'm going to invest another $24,000 in this house that it's not worth? Or am I going to take what I've been given, what it appraises for at face value, and only invest what it's worth?
Right.
And so you have to determine whether or not it's going to be a return on investment for you. We are all adults. You do what you do and what works best for you. If one of my homegirls came to me and said, well, he's this, he's that, and the third, and I just really think that if he did, all these 12 different things, he could become this wonderful, amazing man.
Not these 12 things.
Right. Like, okay, well, I hope you and your man and this, potential 12-step program that y'all got going on work out. But if you ask me whether or not you should wait that out, I would say no. Or I would say set some guidelines like, hey, this is what I see in you. And you've told me that this is what you want to do with some of these things that I'm seeing in you. What is your plan? Like, how are you going to make those things happen? And if they get defensive and it's like, oh, you trying to make me into something that I'm not ready to be, or blah, 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 there's your answer. Like, either this is a person that's not going to do a whole lot with what they have, or they are. And then you make your decision based solely off of that and not how you feel about what you think you see.
Absolutely. Use what you got to get what you want. In the words of the great poet Ronnie from Players Club.
Period.
Period. So on that note, we close out this episode. Let's give the co-host a round of applause. Clap for yourself, girl. Your opinion is always valued and appreciated. We thank you for coming to share on the podcast today. And this time, we actually will be right back with the Montana Minute. And now this brings us to the Montana Minute. The first thing, trust your gut and your intuition if you want to roll the dice with potential. We know that all relationships are a risk, but it's a bigger risk if you're relying on potential instead of the facts that are in front of you right now. The next thing, take things slow. This way, you can know if you are working with real potential with action behind it instead of the other kind that's really like a pipe dream. And the last thing, while I'm not a huge fan of potential, just make sure you know all of the facts before you decide to jump out the window either way, because you want to make sure it's worth it. So per the usual, I'll leave you all to decide to be single or not to be. Signing off, Shanna Montana.